Do not rush away from this moment. Slow down and listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not accidental. I know how tired your heart has become. I know there were nights when you laid awake, staring into darkness, wondering how much longer you could carry the pressure that has been sitting on your shoulders. You smiled in front of people who had no idea how deeply you were struggling. You answered, "I'm fine," while inside you felt like you were breaking apart piece by piece. But today, I want you to understand something clearly. I have never abandoned you, not for one moment. Not in your confusion, not in your delay, not even in the seasons where you doubted whether I was still listening. There are blessings attached to your life that still carry your name. There are doors that were prepared for you long before you ever reached this season. Yet fear has whispered into your mind for so long that you started believing your struggle would never end. Disappointment convinced you that maybe this is simply how your story will always be. But I did not create you to spend your whole life buried beneath hopelessness. I formed you with purpose. I placed gifts inside you that were never meant to stay hidden beneath anxiety and exhaustion. You keep looking at your delays as punishment, but many times the delay was protection. There were doors you cried over when they closed. Yet if I had allowed you to walk through them, they would have wounded you more deeply than you realize. There were people you begged to keep in your life who secretly carried intentions that would have slowly destroyed your peace. There were opportunities that looked perfect on the outside but would have drained the strength from your spirit. You only saw the moment. I saw the outcome. I know there were times when you compared your life to others and quietly wondered why everything seemed easier for them. You watched people move forward while you felt stuck in the same painful cycle. You asked yourself why your prayers appeared delayed while others received answers quickly. But listen carefully to me now. Some blessings arrive quickly because they are small enough to carry immediately. Others take longer because they are connected to deeper transformation. I am not only preparing the blessing for you, I am preparing you for the blessing. There are parts of your heart that still needed healing. There were thoughts inside you that still needed renewal. There were fears that needed to lose their control over your life. Because if I placed certain blessings into your hands before your spirit was strengthened, the very thing you prayed for could have become the thing that overwhelmed you. You have spent too much time condemning yourself. You replay old mistakes in your mind until they become chains around your confidence. You speak against yourself without even realizing it. You call yourself forgotten, behind, unworthy, too damaged, too weak, too late. But those words did not come from me. I never called you worthless. I never declared your future ruined. The voices of fear are loud because the enemy knows that once you truly recognize who you are, you will stop shrinking back from the life I created you to live. My child, there is a reason your spirit still refuses to completely give up. Even after disappointment, you are still searching for hope. Even after delay, you are still listening for my voice. Even after tears, you are still standing. That strength inside you did not come from the world. It came from me sustaining you when you thought you could not keep going any longer. The season you are walking through now is not the end of your story. What feels heavy today will not remain heavy forever. There are shifts happening around you that you cannot yet see. Circumstances are moving. Doors are aligning. Conversations are taking place that will eventually connect to your future. While you thought nothing was changing, I was arranging details behind the scenes in ways your human eyes could not yet recognize. Do not allow weariness to poison your hope. Weariness makes people stop expecting good things. It causes them to settle into survival instead of believing for restoration. But I want you to lift your eyes again. I want you to believe again. Not because everything is already easy, but because I am still walking beside you even now. There are people listening to this who secretly feel like they have lost themselves. The pressure of life slowly stole their joy. The disappointments stole their confidence. The constant battles stole their peace. But today, I am calling your heart back. back to life. You are not too broken for restoration. You are not too far behind to begin again. You are not disqualified because of the seasons that wounded you. And hear this clearly. Your future is not determined by your worst moment. Your identity is not determined by rejection. The opinions of people cannot cancel the purpose I placed over your life. Stop speaking defeat over your tomorrow. Stop rehearsing fear every morning. Stop expecting disaster before you even take the next step. I am teaching you to walk by faith again. I am teaching you to trust me even when the road ahead is unclear, because peace does not come from having every answer. Peace comes from knowing I am still leading you. There will come a time when you look back at this season and realize I was strengthening you in ways comfort never could. The struggle taught you endurance. The silence taught you dependence. The delay taught you patience. And the pain taught you compassion for others who are carrying invisible burdens too. If these words are speaking directly into your spirit today, type, "I still believe," in the comments below. Let your own heart hear your declaration again. And stay with me until the very end of this journey, because the next parts will help you understand the hidden battles that attack your peace, your confidence, and your future. These words are not only meant to encourage you, they are meant to help transform the way you walk through life. And if these words brought comfort to your heart today, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may need this message right now. And if you feel happy and strengthened by these words, you can also support this ministry through the link below, so these messages can continue reaching hearts that are weary, discouraged, and searching for hope around the world. There are wounds people can see, and then there are wounds hidden so deeply inside the mind that no one around you notices them. I know how many times you have smiled while carrying storms in silence. I know how many mornings you woke up already exhausted before the day even began. Your body kept moving, but your thoughts were heavy. Fear kept whispering worst-case scenarios into your spirit. Anxiety kept replaying old disappointments until your heart became tired from fighting battles no one else could see. But today, I want you to hear my voice clearly. You were never created to live imprisoned by fear. The enemy understands something many people forget. If he can control your thoughts, he can slowly control the direction of your life. That is why he constantly sends discouragement, insecurity, and hopelessness into your mind. He wants you to believe you are weak before you even try. He wants you to expect failure before you take another step. He wants you to speak against yourself until your own words become chains around your future. You do not realize how often you have agreed with negativity. Every time you say, "Nothing good ever happens for me," your heart begins to accept defeat as normal. Every time you call yourself forgotten, unworthy, or incapable, you strengthen the very darkness trying to discourage you. But those words never came from me. I did not create you to constantly attack yourself. My child, some of the greatest battles in your life are happening inside your thoughts right now. You replay conversations over and over. You overthink situations until peace disappears from your spirit. You assume people are against you before they have even spoken. You expect abandonment before anyone has left. And slowly, your mind becomes exhausted from carrying fear that was never meant to control you. There are memories from your past that still affect the way you see yourself today. Old rejection still whispers into your confidence. Old betrayal still makes it difficult for you to trust people fully. Old failures still make you hesitate when new opportunities appear. You survived painful seasons, but parts of your heart are still carrying the weight of them. That is why healing must begin inside your thinking before it appears in your circumstances. You cannot enter a new season while constantly rehearsing old pain. You cannot move forward while speaking defeat over your future every day. I am calling you into deeper peace, but peace cannot grow where fear is constantly being fed. There are people listening right now who secretly feel trapped inside their own thoughts. They're tired of worrying, tired of overthinking, tired of feeling emotionally drained every single day. They carry pressure silently because they fear becoming a burden to others. But I want you to understand something important. You do not have to carry everything alone. Bring your fears to me instead of feeding them in silence. Some of you are afraid to hope again because disappointment hurt too deeply the last time. You built emotional walls around your heart because you thought distance would protect you from pain. But shutting down your heart completely will never heal you. They will only keep you from receiving the peace and growth I want to place into your life. I know the nights when your mind would not rest. I know the moments when fear became louder than faith. I know how hard it has been for you to stay strong while carrying invisible pressure every day. But I have not left you alone in this battle. You are stronger than you realize, not because you never struggle, but because you keep standing back up after every difficult season tries to knock you down. Even now, while listening to these words, there is still a part of your spirit refusing to surrender completely. That strength comes from me. Stop measuring your value through the opinions of people who never understood your heart. Stop allowing rejection to become your identity. Stop believing that one painful season has the authority to define your entire future. There are gifts inside you that fear has tried to bury. Wisdom, compassion, creativity, leadership, courage. But what I placed inside you still remains alive, even if discouragement temporarily covered it. This is the season where you must begin speaking life over yourself again. When fear says, "Nothing will change," answer with faith. When insecurity says, "You are not enough," remember that I have carried you through battles you thought would destroy you. When anxiety says, "You will always stay stuck," remind yourself that delay is not permanent. The thoughts you feed the most will shape the atmosphere of your life. If you constantly meditate on fear, your peace will weaken. But when you fill your heart with truth, strength begins rising inside you again. I am teaching you how to guard your mind more carefully. Not every thought deserves your agreement. Not every fear deserves your attention. Some thoughts are assignments sent only to drain your confidence and distract your focus. Be careful what you repeatedly tell yourself in private moments, because eventually your heart believes the words it hears most often. There are people who appear strong on the outside while secretly feeling broken within. They laugh with others while silently fighting discouragement every day. But I see the hidden exhaustion nobody else notices. I see the pressure behind your smile, and I want to restore peace inside the places where anxiety has lived for too long. Do not be ashamed of your struggles. Even strong people grow tired. Even faithful people sometimes battle fear. But the important thing is that you continue bringing your heart back to me instead of surrendering completely to hopelessness. Your life is not over because you had difficult seasons. Your future is not destroyed because you made mistakes. Your story is still unfolding. There are new beginnings waiting ahead of you. But first, I need you to stop attacking yourself with your own thoughts. Speak gently to your own soul again. Believe that healing is still possible. Believe that peace can return again. Believe that your future still carries purpose. And if you are ready to stop allowing fear to control your mind, type, "My thoughts will not defeat me," in the comments below. Let that declaration become a reminder to your own spirit that darkness does not get the final word over your life. Stay with me through the next part, because I am going to reveal why so many people lose hope during seasons of waiting and how to remain spiritually strong when answers seem delayed longer than expected. There are seasons in your life when the waiting becomes heavier than the struggle itself. At first, you prayed with confidence. You believed quickly. You expected the answer to come soon. But as the days stretched into weeks and the weeks stretched into months, something inside your heart slowly became tired. You kept trying to stay hopeful, yet disappointment quietly sat beside your faith like a shadow following you everywhere. I know those moments. I know how many times you asked, "How much longer?" I know how many nights you wondered if your prayers were still reaching heaven. You continued moving through life while carrying silent questions inside your spirit. Questions you were too afraid to say out loud because you did not want anyone to think your faith was weak. But hear me clearly today. Delay is not proof that I have abandoned you. Many people lose hope because they mistake silence for absence. They think that if they cannot immediately see movement, then nothing is happening. But there are seasons where the deepest work happens invisibly. Roots grow beneath the surface long before fruit appears above the ground. And in the same way, there are things I am building in your life right now that cannot yet be fully seen. My child, some of the prayers you keep repeating are already moving toward you, but your heart is becoming weary because you are measuring spiritual timing with human impatience. You want immediate answers because the pressure has been painful for so long. You want instant relief because your soul is exhausted from carrying uncertainty. Yet there are moments when waiting protects you from stepping into something before you are ready to sustain it. You see delay as rejection. I often see it as preparation. There are blessings that require maturity before they arrive. If they came too early, they would crush you instead of helping you. Some people pray for influence while their character is still fragile. Some pray for abundance while their heart is still controlled by insecurity. Some pray for relationships while unhealed wounds are still guiding their emotions. That is why waiting seasons matter. I know you have cried over doors that refuse to open. I know you have questioned yourself after opportunities disappeared. You wondered if maybe you had failed too many times. Maybe you were not worthy enough. Maybe your future had already slipped away. But the truth is this: many things you called rejection were actually redirection. I protected you from places where your peace would have been destroyed. There were environments you begged to enter that secretly carried confusion and hidden pain. There were relationships that looked beautiful from the outside, while quietly carrying the power to wound your heart deeply. There were opportunities that seemed perfect, but if I had allowed them too early, they would have stolen your sense of purpose. You only saw what you wanted in the moment. I saw the entire road ahead. That is why you must stop assuming delay means denial. There are people watching this right now who secretly feel emotionally drained because they have been waiting for so long. Waiting for financial relief, waiting for healing, waiting for peace, waiting for restoration in relationships, waiting for answers that still have not arrived. And because of the long delay, they have slowly stopped expecting anything good to happen. That is the dangerous place where faith quietly begins to weaken. When disappointment repeats itself long enough, people start protecting themselves from hope. They stop dreaming. They stop praying boldly. They stop expecting doors to open. They survive, but they no longer truly believe. But I am calling your heart back to expectation today. Do not allow delay to bury your hope. The enemy wants you emotionally exhausted because exhausted people stop resisting negativity. Tired hearts become easier to discourage. Weary minds become easier to fill with fear. That is why you must guard your spirit carefully during seasons of waiting. Do not feed bitterness while you wait. Do not poison your heart with jealousy while others move ahead of you. Do not constantly compare your timeline to someone else's story. What I am building in your life carries a different assignment. There are things I had to teach you in private before certain doors could safely open. I needed to strengthen your discernment so you would recognize unhealthy connections before they entered your future. I needed to deepen your patience so success would not make you arrogant later. I needed to heal insecurities that could have ruined the very blessing you prayed for. The process has not been meaningless. Even now, you are stronger than you were before the season began. You have survived nights that once seemed impossible. You have carried burdens that would have crushed an older version of yourself. You have learned how to keep walking even when your emotions felt unstable. And that growth matters more than you realize. There are people who gave up one moment before their breakthrough arrived. Do not become one of them. Stay steady, even when the road feels uncertain. Continue choosing integrity even when dishonesty seems easier. Continue praying, even when answers appear delayed. Continue believing, even when your emotions try to pull you toward hopelessness. Because what I promised has not disappeared. Your future is still unfolding. And one day you will look back at this season and realize, I was not ignoring you. I was building endurance inside you. I was protecting you from premature blessings. I was teaching you how to trust me beyond temporary emotions. Some miracles happen instantly. Others happen through transformation over time. But both require faith. My child, I need you to stop speaking as though your story is already finished. You are still in the middle of the journey. There are chapters ahead of you that will carry peace you cannot currently imagine. There are doors ahead of you that will open unexpectedly. There are prayers ahead of you that will finally receive answers. There are moments ahead of you where the tears you cried in private will make sense. But do not abandon hope before you reach those moments. If you are choosing to trust me even during the waiting season, type, "I will not give up," in the comments below. Let your declaration become a reminder to your own spirit that delay is not defeat. And continue watching through this journey, because in the next part, I will reveal how hidden fear and self-doubt quietly block many people from walking into the opportunities already standing in front of them. There are many people who pray for open doors while secretly being terrified of walking through them. They ask me for change, yet deep inside they fear failure so strongly that they remain trapped in familiar pain instead of stepping into unfamiliar growth. And today I need you to recognize something important. Some of the greatest limitations in your life are not around you. They are inside the thoughts you continue believing about yourself. Fear is subtle. It rarely arrives loudly at first. It whispers quietly into your spirit. It tells you to stay small so you will not be disappointed again. It convinces you not to try because rejection might hurt too much. It reminds you of every past mistake until your confidence slowly weakens. And before long, you begin shrinking back from opportunities I placed directly in front of you. My child, fear has stolen enough time from your life already. I know why you became cautious. I know the heartbreak that made you hesitant. I know the betrayals that made it difficult to trust people again. I know how painful it felt when doors closed after you invested your energy, your hope, and your prayers into them. But you cannot allow old pain to permanently control your future. Some of you have become so afraid of disappointment that you no longer expect good things to happen. You prepare yourself emotionally for failure before you even begin. You reject yourself before anyone else has the chance. And the enemy celebrates every moment you doubt your own worth, because insecurity keeps you standing outside the very places I am calling you into. You were never meant to live hidden beneath fear. I did not create you to constantly question whether you are enough. I did not place gifts inside you so insecurity could bury them beneath anxiety. There are abilities within you that the world has not fully seen yet, because fear convinced you to stay silent. Some of you carry ideas that could bless people, but fear says you are not qualified enough. Some of you carry leadership inside your spirit, but fear tells you nobody would listen. Some of you are called to begin new chapters, but fear keeps replaying old failures in your mind. And because of this, you remain standing at the edge of opportunities while doubting whether you belong there. But listen carefully to me now. Your past failures do not cancel your future purpose. The enemy keeps reminding you about old mistakes because he wants you emotionally trapped in shame. Shame weakens confidence. Shame convinces people they are permanently damaged. Shame makes people hide their gifts instead of developing them. But I never asked you to live beneath constant condemnation. Yes, you made mistakes. Yes, there were moments where you chose wrongly. But your worst season was never meant to become your permanent identity. Stop speaking about yourself as though you are already defeated. Every time you call yourself weak, incapable, unwanted, or forgotten, you strengthen the fear already fighting your confidence. Words carry power. What you repeatedly declare eventually shapes how you see yourself. That is why you must become careful with your own voice. There are people watching right now who secretly feel like life passed them by. They look at younger people succeeding. They look at others building families, businesses, opportunities, and stability, while they still feel stuck trying to recover from old wounds. And quietly, they begin believing it is too late for them. But it is not too late. You are not disqualified because your journey took longer than someone else's. Growth is not always visible immediately. Some people bloom early. Others bloom after long seasons of hidden preparation. But hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. There are things I developed inside you through hardship that comfort could never teach. The struggle taught you compassion. The disappointment taught you wisdom. The waiting taught you patience. And the pain taught you how deeply people around you are silently hurting too. One day you will realize that some of the hardest seasons of your life became the very reason you could help others survive theirs. Do not despise the process that strengthened your spirit. Fear wants you focused only on what went wrong before. Faith reminds you that your story is still unfolding. My child, you keep asking for confidence while constantly feeding insecurity. You cannot heal while repeatedly agreeing with every negative thought that enters your mind. Not every thought deserves your agreement. Some thoughts are assignments sent only to weaken your courage before your next season begins. You must stop building your identity around fear. Your identity is not failure. Your identity is not rejection. Your identity is not anxiety. Your identity is not your worst moment. You belong to me, and what I placed inside you still matters. There are opportunities ahead that will require courage from you. Doors are going to open that force you to step beyond your comfort zone. New relationships, new responsibilities, new assignments, new environments. And if fear continues controlling your decisions, you will keep standing outside blessings you prayed to receive. Do not let insecurity become stronger than your purpose. I know you feel tired sometimes. I know your confidence has been wounded. I know there are moments where even small decisions feel emotionally heavy because your mind has carried stress for so long. But I am rebuilding your strength. Slowly. You do not need to become fearless overnight. You simply need to stop surrendering to fear every time it speaks. Courage does not mean you never feel afraid. Courage means you continue moving forward, even while fear tries to follow you. There are people who appear confident externally, while secretly feeling terrified internally. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is learning to trust me more than the fear trying to stop you. So stop shrinking your future because of old disappointments. Stop assuming every new opportunity will end in pain. Stop expecting rejection before you even speak. There are people you have not met yet who will value your heart. There are opportunities you have not seen yet that will recognize your gifts. There are moments ahead that will restore pieces of your confidence you thought were permanently broken. But first, you must stop agreeing with fear. If you are ready to stop letting fear control your future, type, "I choose courage," in the comments below. Let that declaration become a turning point inside your spirit. And stay with me into the next part, because I am going to show you why many people lose themselves after blessings finally arrive, and how to remain spiritually strong during seasons of increase and success. There are many people who pray faithfully during seasons of struggle, but slowly drift away from me once the blessing finally arrives. While they are broken, they seek me constantly. While they are desperate, they pray with sincerity. While they are waiting, their heart remains humble and dependent. But when success enters their life, something subtle begins to change inside them. Comfort replaces desperation. Busyness replaces prayer. Pride quietly replaces gratitude. And before they realize it, they are holding the blessing in their hands while losing the peace that once kept them close to me. That is why I must prepare your heart before I release certain things into your life. My child, the greatest danger is not always lack. Sometimes the greater danger is abundance without wisdom. There are people who thought money would solve all their problems, only to discover that success exposed weaknesses they never healed. There are people who prayed for influence, but once they received attention, pride slowly poisoned their spirit. There are people who begged for opportunities, yet when doors opened, they became so distracted by achievement that they forgot the one who carried them through the difficult seasons. I do not want that to happen to you. I know how badly you desire relief from pressure. I know you are tired of carrying financial stress, emotional exhaustion, and constant uncertainty. But hear me clearly today. The blessing itself is not the final goal. Transformation is. If I only gave you money without healing your insecurity, you would still feel empty. If I only opened doors without strengthening your discernment, unhealthy people would eventually misuse your kindness. If I only elevated you publicly without deepening your character privately, success could destroy your peace from within. That is why process matters. There are things I have been teaching you during your hidden seasons that will protect you later when greater responsibility enters your life. I have been teaching you humility, so success will not control your identity. I have been teaching you discernment, so you will recognize unhealthy influences before they enter your future. I have been teaching you gratitude, so abundance will not harden your heart. Many people ask for blessings they are emotionally unprepared to carry. Some people receive increase and immediately begin comparing themselves to others. Some receive success and suddenly treat people differently. Some receive recognition and begin believing they no longer need guidance, wisdom, or prayer. But I want your heart to remain soft, even when your life becomes stable. My child, never forget the seasons where I carried you when your strength was almost gone. Never forget the nights where you cried in silence, and I gave you peace even before circumstances changed. Never forget the lessons hardship taught you about compassion, patience, and dependence. Because the same humility that sustained you during the struggle must remain inside you during the blessing. There are people watching this right now who secretly believe that once they finally receive what they are praying for, all their emotional battles will disappear. But external success does not automatically heal internal wounds. You can possess opportunities while still carrying insecurity. You can gain recognition while still feeling emotionally empty. You can have financial increase while still lacking peace. That is why your inner life matters more than temporary appearances. I care about your soul more than your image. I care about your peace more than your popularity. I care about your character more than your comfort. And because I love you deeply, I refuse to release certain things before your heart becomes ready to sustain them. Do not mistake delay for punishment. Sometimes delay is mercy, protecting you from a future you are not emotionally prepared to handle yet. There are people who lost themselves after success because they built their identity around achievement instead of remaining anchored in me. They became addicted to applause. They depended on validation. They allowed public approval to control their emotional stability. And eventually they discovered that no amount of external success can replace inner peace. That is why I keep teaching you to remain grounded. Stay grateful even when your life improves. Stay humble even when doors begin opening. Stay prayerful even when pressure decreases. Stay compassionate even when you finally become successful. Do not become the person who forgets how difficult the journey once was. My child, there are blessings ahead that will surprise you. Opportunities will appear from places you did not expect. Connections will form that suddenly shift the direction of your life. Financial relief will eventually arrive. Stability will grow where fear once lived. But when those things begin happening, guard your heart carefully. Do not allow comfort to make you spiritually careless. Do not allow increase to make you arrogant. Do not allow success to make you forget the people still struggling around you. I want you to become a channel of blessing, not a reservoir controlled only by selfish ambition. There are people I intend to help through your future compassion. There are weary hearts your testimony will strengthen one day. There are lives your generosity will impact later. That is why the process has been shaping you so deeply. You are not only being prepared to receive, you are being prepared to steward. And hear this carefully. True blessing is not measured only by money, recognition, or possessions. True blessing is having peace while carrying responsibility. True blessing is remaining emotionally healthy while opportunities increase around you. True blessing is succeeding without losing your integrity. True blessing is remaining close to me, regardless of whether your season feels difficult or abundant. Some people gain the world externally while slowly losing themselves internally. I refuse to let that happen to you. So keep your heart soft. Keep your spirit grateful. Keep your focus steady. Because what I am building in your life is meant to last longer than temporary excitement. There are moments ahead where you will finally understand why certain seasons moved slowly. You will see how the waiting protected you. You will see how the struggle strengthened you. You will see how hidden preparation preserved your future. And when that understanding comes, gratitude will rise inside your spirit in a completely different way. If you want your future blessing to strengthen your life instead of controlling it, type "Keep my heart humble" in the comments below. And if these words are bringing peace and wisdom into your life, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may need encouragement today. And if you feel led to support this ministry, the link below is there for you. Your support helps these messages continue reaching people carrying silent battles around the world. Stay with me into the next part, because I am going to reveal why some people continue repeating painful cycles for years and how hidden patterns silently shape the direction of their lives. There are people who keep asking why the same pain follows them from season to season. They change locations, change jobs, change relationships, even change the people around them. Yet somehow, the same emotional battles continue appearing in different forms. The same disappointments repeat. The same fears return. The same struggles keep circling back into their lives like shadows they cannot escape. And after a while, they begin believing this is simply their destiny. But today, I need you to understand something carefully. Not every repeated struggle is random. Some cycles continue because wounds were covered instead of healed. Some patterns remain because fear was hidden instead of confronted. Some burdens keep growing because silence protected them instead of exposing them to truth. My child, I do not want you trapped in endless cycles of emotional exhaustion. There are habits, thoughts, and hidden beliefs quietly shaping your future every day. Many people only pay attention to what happens externally, while ignoring the condition of their inner life. But what is planted repeatedly inside the heart eventually appears in the direction of a person's life. A fearful mind creates fearful decisions. An insecure heart creates unstable relationships. A wounded spirit often expects rejection before love even has the chance to grow. And because of this, many people unknowingly recreate the very pain they are praying to escape. I know there are moments when you ask yourself, why does this keep happening to me? You look back across the years and notice similar disappointments repeating themselves. Different faces, different places, different circumstances, yet the same emotional pain somehow keeps returning. Well, I am calling you into deeper awareness now. Some cycles continue because you learned survival patterns during painful seasons, and now those patterns still control you even when danger is no longer present. You became overly cautious because betrayal hurt deeply. You became emotionally distant because disappointment exhausted your heart. You stopped trusting yourself because failure wounded your confidence. You stopped expecting good things because hope felt dangerous after too many delays. And slowly, those survival habits became permanent walls around your future. But survival is not the same as healing. Just because something protected you during one painful season does not mean it should continue controlling your entire life. Some people remain trapped in loneliness because fear keeps them emotionally guarded. Some remain trapped in financial stress because fear controls every decision they make. Some remain trapped in insecurity because they constantly compare themselves to others. And while they pray for change externally, the hidden patterns inside them continue recreating the same struggles repeatedly. That is why transformation must begin within. My child, there are areas of your heart I am trying to heal right now, not to shame you, but to free you. I am exposing unhealthy patterns because I do not want those patterns following you into your next season. There are people listening to this message who secretly feel exhausted from repeating the same emotional battles year after year. They are tired of beginning again, tired of rebuilding after disappointment, tired of fighting thoughts they thought would have disappeared by now. But healing takes honesty. You cannot overcome what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot break unhealthy cycles while pretending they do not exist. Some of you continue calling fear wisdom. Some call emotional distance strength. Some call hopelessness being realistic. But deep inside, your spirit knows these things are quietly stealing your peace. I am not asking you to condemn yourself for your struggles. I am asking you to stop surrendering to them as though they are permanent. Your pain may explain certain behaviors, but it does not have permission to rule your future forever. You are not meant to stay emotionally trapped in old seasons. There are people from your past who wounded your confidence so deeply that even now you still hear their words echoing in your mind. Rejection shaped the way you see yourself. Criticism weakened your courage. Disappointment convinced you to lower your expectations for life. But I never intended for broken voices from your past to define your identity. My child, cycles break when truth becomes stronger than fear. Cycles break when you stop speaking defeat over yourself every day. Cycles break when you stop expecting abandonment before relationships even grow. Cycles break when you finally believe your future can become healthier than your past. And yes, healing takes time. Some wounds were carried for years. Some fears became deeply rooted through repeated disappointment. But slow healing is still healing. Do not become discouraged, because transformation is gradual. Even now, while listening to these words, your awareness is growing. You are beginning to recognize patterns that once controlled you silently. You are beginning to notice thoughts that drain your peace. You are beginning to understand how certain fears have shaped your decisions for too long. That awareness matters, because once light enters hidden places, darkness begins losing its control. There are new habits I want to build inside you. I want you to learn how to speak life instead of constant negativity. I want you to learn how to trust again without becoming controlled by fear. I want you to learn how to rest emotionally instead of carrying anxiety every moment. I want you to stop expecting disaster every time life becomes uncertain. The future ahead of you does not need to repeat the past behind you. There are healthier seasons waiting for you. There are peaceful relationships waiting for you. There are opportunities waiting for you that will not carry the same confusion as older seasons. But you must stop agreeing with the lie that nothing will ever change. My child, some of the strongest people are not those who never struggled. They are the ones who became honest about their wounds and allowed healing to begin. That is courage. Not pretending everything is fine while silently suffering. Not hiding exhaustion behind fake smiles forever. But allowing truth to reach the places where fear lived too long. So today, stop declaring that your life will always stay the same. Stop repeating hopeless words over your future. Stop calling yourself trapped when I'm already leading you toward freedom step by step. The cycles do not have authority to define the rest of your life. If you are ready to break unhealthy patterns and step into emotional healing, type "The cycle ends here" in the comments below. And stay with me for the next part, because I am going to show you why hidden discouragement slowly drains people spiritually, and how to rebuild strength when your soul has become deeply weary from carrying too much for too long. There are battles that leave marks on the body, and then there are battles that slowly exhaust the soul. Those are the struggles people rarely talk about. The kind where you continue functioning outwardly while inwardly feeling emotionally drained. You wake up tired even after resting. You carry conversations while your mind feels heavy. You smile for others, while privately wondering how much longer you can keep carrying everything pressing against your spirit. My child, I know the weight you have been carrying. I know there were moments when you felt emotionally numb because disappointment happened too many times in a row. I know there were seasons when your heart became so exhausted that even simple responsibilities felt overwhelming. You tried to stay hopeful, but the constant pressure quietly drained your strength little by little. And the dangerous thing about deep weariness is this: it does not always arrive suddenly. Sometimes it grows slowly through repeated stress, repeated disappointment, repeated fear, and repeated emotional pressure, until one day you realize your soul no longer feels light the way it once did. You continue moving, but joy feels distant. You continue praying, but your heart feels tired. You continue trying, but internally you wonder whether anything will ever truly change. I see those hidden battles. Many people around you do not fully understand how exhausted you have become because you learned how to survive silently. You became skilled at hiding pain behind normal conversations. You stopped explaining your struggles because you grew tired of feeling misunderstood. And slowly you began carrying burdens privately that were never meant to stay trapped inside you. My child, you were never created to carry endless emotional pressure alone. There are people listening to this right now who secretly feel mentally overwhelmed every single day. Their thoughts never fully rest. Anxiety keeps their spirit tense. Fear constantly whispers into their future. They feel pressure about finances, relationships, responsibilities, and uncertainty all at once. And because the stress has lasted so long, they have begun losing emotional strength. But hear me clearly today. Weariness is not your permanent identity. This season may have tired you, but it will not destroy you. The enemy wants exhausted people to believe they are powerless. Because when the soul becomes deeply weary, hope becomes harder to hold on to. Discouragement grows louder. Negative thoughts become heavier. Fear becomes easier to believe. That is why you must guard your inner life carefully during exhausting seasons. Do not isolate yourself completely inside your pain. Do not bury every emotion beneath silence. Do not keep pretending you are emotionally fine while your soul quietly struggles beneath the pressure. Some of you have spent so much time being strong for everyone else that you forgot how to care for your own spirit. You carry responsibilities constantly. You help others while privately feeling empty yourself. You encourage people while secretly wishing someone would notice your own exhaustion too. And I want you to know this today. I notice. I see the pressure nobody else fully understands. I see the silent tears. I see the mental battles. I see the moments where you almost gave up emotionally but still kept moving forward anyway. That quiet endurance matters more than you realize. My child, rest is not weakness. You were never meant to survive only through constant emotional tension. Yet many people have become so familiar with stress that peace almost feels uncomfortable to them. They live in survival mode for so long that their heart forgets how to truly rest. But I am teaching you how to breathe again emotionally. I am teaching you how to release pressure you were never meant to carry alone. Some burdens belong in my hands, not constantly in your mind. You keep trying to solve every future problem before it arrives. You keep overthinking situations that have not even happened yet. You keep replaying fears repeatedly until your own thoughts become heavier than reality itself. But fear multiplies exhaustion. Peace begins when you stop trying to control everything yourself. There are moments where your greatest act of faith is simply trusting me enough to rest emotionally instead of constantly panicking about tomorrow. My child, you cannot heal while continuously feeding stress every hour of the day. You need moments of stillness, moments where your spirit remembers that you are human, not a machine built only to survive pressure endlessly. Some of you feel guilty when you rest because you believe stopping means weakness. But exhaustion is not proof of failure. Even strong hearts become tired after carrying heavy burdens for too long. I do not condemn your weariness. I want to restore your strength. And restoration often begins quietly. It begins when you stop attacking yourself mentally every day. It begins when you stop believing every fearful thought. It begins when you stop measuring your worth through productivity alone. It begins when you finally allow peace to enter the parts of your life where anxiety lived too long. There are people who lost years of joy because worry consumed their thoughts constantly. They became emotionally trapped inside future fears that never even happened. They carried invisible pressure every day until their soul became exhausted. I do not want that for you. The future ahead of you still carries peace. The future ahead of you still carries purpose. The future ahead of you still carries healing. But you must stop treating your exhaustion as though it defines who you are forever. My child, there is strength growing inside you even now. Not loud strength built on pride. Quiet strength built through survival, endurance, humility, and faith. You survived moments you once believed would completely destroy you. You carried pain that nobody else fully understood. You endured emotional battles privately while still trying to move forward. And even now, despite your weariness, your spirit is still listening for hope. That matters deeply. Do not give up simply because your soul became tired for a season. Rest, recover, breathe again. But do not surrender your future to hopelessness. There are still beautiful moments ahead of you that your current exhaustion cannot fully see yet. There are still prayers waiting to unfold in ways that will surprise you later. There are still peaceful seasons ahead that will heal parts of your heart this difficult chapter wounded. So stop calling yourself broken beyond repair. Stop speaking as though joy will never return. Stop believing exhaustion has authority over your destiny. This season may have weakened your emotions temporarily, but it did not erase your purpose. If you are ready for peace to return to your soul again, type "Restore my strength" in the comments below, and continue into the next part, because I am going to reveal how hidden words spoken over your life shaped your confidence for years, and how to finally break free from the labels that tried to define your identity. There are words people spoke over you years ago that still echo quietly inside your mind today. Some were spoken in anger. Some were spoken carelessly. Some came during moments when your heart was vulnerable and searching for acceptance. Yet even though time passed, those words stayed attached to your confidence, like invisible chains around your spirit. I know the labels you secretly carry. I know how rejection shaped the way you began seeing yourself. I know there were moments when criticism wounded you so deeply that you slowly started believing you were not enough. Some people made you feel unwanted. Some made you feel invisible. Some treated your kindness as weakness. And over time, the opinions of broken people slowly became louder in your mind than my truth about you. But today, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not the negative words spoken over your life. You are not the failure someone accused you of being. You are not permanently damaged because people misunderstood your heart. The enemy works hard to attack identity because once a person forgets who they are, fear becomes easier to control them. A person who believes they are worthless will hesitate before opportunities. A person who believes they are unwanted will struggle to trust healthy love. A person who believes they are incapable will avoid stepping into new responsibilities even when doors are opening. That is why so many people silently sabotage their own future. The labels attached to them years ago still shape the way they think today. My child, some of you have carried shame for so long that you no longer recognize how harshly you speak to yourself. You call yourself behind. You call yourself broken. You call yourself weak. You constantly compare your journey to others until insecurity quietly drains your peace every day. But I never asked you to build your identity around comparison. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to lose gratitude for your own journey. When you constantly focus on someone else's progress, You stop recognizing how far you have already come yourself. You forget the battles you survived. You forget the growth taking place quietly inside you. You forget the strength developed through seasons others never had to endure. My child, your journey carries purpose too. Do not despise your process because it looks different from someone else's story. There are people listening right now who secretly feel ashamed of where they are in life. They look at others succeeding publicly while privately feeling stuck. And because of that shame, they begin shrinking themselves emotionally. They stop dreaming boldly. They stop believing they deserve healthy relationships, peace, success, or healing. But shame was never meant to become your permanent identity. Yes, you have flaws. Yes, you made mistakes. Yes, there are moments you wish you could relive differently. But your mistakes do not erase your value. You are still worthy of love. You are still worthy of peace. You are still worthy of growth and restoration. The labels people placed on you were often reflections of their own wounds, fears, jealousy, or limitations. Some people criticized your light because they were uncomfortable with their own darkness. Some rejected you because your presence exposed insecurities they had not healed. Some underestimated you simply because they could not see the purpose developing inside your life. Do not allow wounded voices to permanently define your identity. My child, I call you by purpose, not by your worst season. I see the version of you that still exists beneath the fear, beneath the insecurity, beneath the exhaustion. I see the gifts you buried after disappointment hurt too deeply. I see the confidence you slowly lost after repeated rejection, and I'm calling those parts of you back to life again. Stop speaking against yourself every day. The way you speak to yourself matters deeply. Some of you would never speak to another person with the harshness you use against your own soul. You condemn yourself for every mistake. You minimize every achievement. You focus on every flaw while ignoring the growth happening quietly inside you. But healing cannot grow where constant self-condemnation continues living. You must learn to speak to yourself with grace. Not arrogance, not denial, but grace. You are still growing. You are still healing. You are still learning, and growth takes time. There are opportunities ahead that require a healthier view of yourself. Because if your identity remains rooted in insecurity, you will continue shrinking back from the very places I prepared for you. You will reject blessings because you secretly believe you do not deserve them. You will doubt healthy relationships because fear tells you they will eventually disappear too. That is why I am rebuilding your confidence now. Not shallow confidence based on appearance or public approval, but deep confidence rooted in knowing you still carry value even after difficult seasons. My child, there are people who underestimated you because they only saw your current struggle. They did not see the resilience growing inside you. They did not see the wisdom developing through your pain. They did not see the strength quietly forming through every battle you survived. But one day, the same people who overlooked you will recognize the transformation taking place in your life. Not because you became prideful, but because healing restored the parts of you fear tried to silence. You were never created to live hiding behind insecurity forever. There is purpose still waiting inside you. There is courage still waiting to rise again. There is peace still waiting to settle over your heart. And there are beautiful things ahead of you that insecurity cannot yet fully imagine. So stop agreeing with labels that never came from me. Stop introducing yourself to life through shame. Stop expecting rejection before people even know your heart. You are not the names fear called you. You are not the opinions of people who fail to recognize your worth. You are not too damaged to begin again. My child, your identity must become stronger than your insecurity. Because once you truly recognize your worth, fear loses much of its control over your future. If you are ready to release old labels and embrace healing, type "I am more than my past" in the comments below. And stay with me for the next part, because I am going to show you why certain doors suddenly close in your life and how hidden protection often works through disappointments you did not understand at first. There were moments in your life when a door closed so suddenly that it shattered your expectations completely. You prayed for it. You planned for it. You imagined your future connected to it. Yet despite all your effort, the opportunity disappeared, the relationship ended, or the path you wanted simply refused to open. And afterward, you sat in confusion asking why. Why did it fall apart? Why did things change so quickly? Why did it seem like everything slipped away just when you thought it was finally coming together? My child, there are closed doors you still mourn today that were actually protecting your future. I know you interpreted certain disappointments as rejection. I know there were seasons where you felt forgotten because things did not unfold the way you hoped. But there are moments when my protection does not look like comfort at first. Sometimes protection feels like interruption. Sometimes protection feels like delay. Sometimes protection feels like losing something you thought you desperately needed. But I see what you cannot yet see. You only saw the excitement of the opportunity. I saw the hidden stress it would have carried later. You only saw how deeply you cared about the relationship. I saw the emotional damage waiting beneath the surface. You only saw the immediate desire. I saw the long-term consequence. That is why you must stop assuming every closed door means you failed. Some doors close because they are not connected to the peace I prepared for you. There are people listening right now who still carry heartbreak over seasons that did not work out. They replay conversations in their mind, wondering what they could have done differently. They blame themselves constantly. They question whether they were not good enough, attractive enough, successful enough, or worthy enough. But hear me carefully. Not every loss happened because you were lacking. Some things ended because they were never meant to continue following you into your future. There are relationships you begged to keep that would have slowly drained your peace. There were environments you desperately wanted to stay in that secretly carried confusion and unhealthy pressure. There were opportunities that looked successful externally, while quietly leading your soul toward exhaustion internally. My child, you often pray for peace while fighting to keep things that are destroying it. That is why I sometimes remove what your emotions are trying to hold on to. I know how painful unexpected endings can feel. I know the confusion of watching plans collapse after investing your heart into them. I know how easy it becomes to question yourself afterward. But stop measuring your value through every door that closes. Some closed doors are redirections toward healthier places. You would be surprised how many disasters I protected you from, without you even realizing it. There were conversations that happened behind your back that you never heard. There were hidden motives in certain people that you never fully recognized. There were situations developing beneath the surface that would have wounded you deeply if I had allowed you to continue walking into them. You call it disappointment. Sometimes I call it rescue. My child, one of the hardest lessons to learn is trusting me, even when life moves differently than you expected, because your emotions often become attached to outcomes before understanding whether those outcomes are truly healthy for your future. You become emotionally invested quickly. You build dreams around certain possibilities, and when those possibilities disappear, grief enters your spirit. But grief does not always mean something was right for you. Sometimes grief simply means your heart needs time to understand what your emotions could not yet see clearly. There are people who look back years later and finally realize the very thing they cried over would have destroyed their peace if it had remained. And one day you will recognize certain closed doors the same way. You will understand why some opportunities disappeared. You will understand why some relationships could not continue. You will understand why certain delays actually preserved your future. But until that understanding fully arrives, trust me enough to believe that I am still guiding your life, even when things feel uncertain. My child, disappointment can either make your heart bitter or wiser. Do not allow pain to harden you completely. Do not become so guarded by old heartbreak that you stop believing good things can still happen. Not every person will betray you. Not every opportunity will collapse. Not every season will end in disappointment. The enemy wants you emotionally trapped in fear after painful endings, because fearful people stop trusting healthy possibilities. They stop taking chances. They stop believing life can improve. They expect pain before joy even has a chance to arrive. But I did not create you to live trapped beneath constant fear of loss. There are better doors ahead of you. There are healthier connections ahead of you. There are opportunities ahead that will not steal your peace while demanding your energy. But first, you must release what no longer belongs in your hands. Some of you are emotionally exhausted because you are still fighting to reopen doors I intentionally closed. You keep trying to revive relationships that are no longer healthy. You keep chasing validation from people who consistently wound your confidence. You keep begging for paths that no longer align with your purpose. And because of this, your spirit remains restless. My child, not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Sometimes removal is mercy. Sometimes distance is healing. Sometimes endings become the beginning of restoration you cannot yet fully imagine. Trust me enough to release what I removed. Trust me enough to stop chasing what continually destroys your peace. Trust me enough to believe that healthier seasons still exist ahead of you. There are moments coming where clarity will finally replace confusion. The tears you cried over certain endings will eventually transform into gratitude for the protection you did not understand at first. And when that day comes, you will realize I was never punishing you. I was preserving you. If you are choosing to trust that closed doors can still lead to better seasons, type, "I trust your direction" in the comments below. And continue to the next part, because I am going to reveal why hidden loneliness affects so many hearts silently, and how isolation slowly weakens people emotionally without them even realizing it. There are moments when loneliness becomes so heavy that even being surrounded by people does not remove it. You carry conversations, you answer messages, you go through your daily routine, yet deep inside there is still an ache that nobody fully sees. A quiet emptiness, a feeling that no one truly understands the battles happening inside your heart. My child, I know the loneliness you never talk about. I know there were nights when you wished someone would simply notice that you were struggling without you needing to explain everything. I know there were moments when you felt emotionally distant, even in rooms filled with people. You smiled, you stayed polite, you continued functioning outwardly, but inwardly you felt unseen, exhausted, and disconnected. Loneliness is not always the absence of people. Sometimes loneliness is carrying pain nobody understands. Sometimes loneliness is feeling emotionally unsupported while constantly supporting everyone else. Sometimes loneliness is being afraid to fully open your heart because previous wounds taught you that vulnerability can become dangerous. And slowly your spirit begins retreating inward. The enemy loves isolation because isolated hearts become easier to discourage. When people carry everything alone for too long, negative thoughts grow louder, fear becomes heavier, hope becomes weaker, and eventually exhaustion convinces them that nobody truly cares about what they are feeling. But hear me carefully today. You are not alone in this season. Even when people fail to understand your heart fully, I still see every hidden battle. I see the moments where you wanted to cry but held the tears back. I see the nights where your thoughts became overwhelming. I see the emotional pressure you rarely explain to anyone else. And I want you to stop believing the lie that you must carry every burden silently forever. My child, some of you became emotionally distant because disappointment taught you to protect yourself. You stopped expressing your needs because you feared becoming too much for others. You learned how to survive independently because previous pain convinced you relying on people would only lead to more hurt. But survival is not the same as connection. There are people watching right now who secretly feel emotionally invisible. They spend so much time helping others that they forgot how to receive support themselves. They encourage everyone around them while quietly feeling empty inside. They check on others constantly while secretly wishing someone would check on them too. And over time, that loneliness becomes exhausting. You begin questioning your worth. You begin wondering whether people would notice your absence. You begin feeling emotionally disconnected from joy itself. But I never intended for your heart to become buried beneath isolation. My child, isolation changes the way people think. When you remain alone in your fears too long, your mind begins believing things that are not true. You start assuming nobody cares. You start expecting rejection before connection even has a chance to grow. You become suspicious of kindness because disappointment wounded your trust so deeply in the past. But not everyone who enters your life is sent to hurt you. There are healthy people I still intend to place around you. There are safe connections ahead of you. There are conversations ahead that will bring healing instead of pressure. But you must stop believing loneliness is your permanent future. Some of you have become so emotionally guarded that even when love approaches, fear immediately tells you to pull away. You keep your walls high because being hurt before taught you that distance feels safer than vulnerability. Yet walls that protect you from pain can also prevent healing from reaching your heart. I know trust feels difficult after disappointment. I know rejection left scars inside your confidence. I know betrayal changed the way you look at people. But I do not want fear to isolate you from the healthy relationships still waiting ahead. My child, there is a difference between protecting your peace and imprisoning your heart. Wisdom creates healthy boundaries. Fear creates emotional prisons. And some of you have lived inside emotional prisons for so long that you no longer recognize how lonely your spirit has become. You deserve peace. You deserve healthy love. You deserve relationships where your heart feels safe instead of constantly anxious. Do not let past pain convince you otherwise. There are moments ahead where genuine connection will slowly restore parts of your soul that loneliness exhausted. People who understand your heart more deeply than previous seasons allowed. Friendships built on honesty instead of pressure. Relationships where you no longer feel the need to constantly perform or pretend everything is fine. But first, you must stop agreeing with the lie that you are meant to carry life completely alone. My child, even now while you are listening to these words, there are people around you fighting hidden loneliness too. Many hearts are silently exhausted. Many smiles are hiding emotional pain. Many people desperately need encouragement while pretending they are strong. That is why compassion matters so deeply. Your kindness may be healing someone you never fully realize is struggling. A gentle word may reach a weary soul at the exact moment they needed hope. Never underestimate how deeply love can impact people carrying invisible pain. And do not underestimate how deeply you matter either. You are not invisible to me. You are not forgotten. You are not emotionally abandoned simply because this season has felt lonely. The future ahead of you still carries connection. The future ahead of you still carries peace. The future ahead of you still carries people who will value your presence instead of draining your spirit. But do not allow isolation to convince you that healing relationships no longer exist. My child, loneliness may have visited your life, but it does not have permission to define your destiny forever. There are still beautiful connections ahead. There are still conversations ahead that will restore hope inside your heart. There are still people ahead who will appreciate the kindness, wisdom, and compassion you carry within you. So stop believing that loneliness is all your future will ever hold. You are deeply seen. You are deeply loved. And your heart still matters. If these words touch the hidden loneliness inside your spirit, type, "I am not alone," in the comments below. And if these messages are helping strengthen your heart, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone carrying silent battles today. And if you feel led to support this ministry, the link below is there for you. Your support helps these messages continue reaching weary hearts searching for peace and encouragement around the world. Stay with me into the next part, because I am going to reveal why many people secretly fear their future and how to stop living under constant anxiety about what tomorrow may bring. There are people who spend so much time worrying about tomorrow that they no longer know how to experience peace today. Their mind constantly runs ahead of them. They imagine problems before those problems even exist. They prepare emotionally for disasters that may never happen. And slowly, anxiety begins stealing the strength they need for the present moment. My child, I know how often fear has tried to speak into your future. I know there were nights when your thoughts refused to rest. You kept replaying every possible outcome in your mind, hoping that overthinking could somehow protect you from pain. You carried questions nobody around you fully understood. Questions about finances, questions about relationships, questions about your purpose, questions about whether life would ever finally become stable again. And because you could not clearly see the future, fear tried to fill the empty spaces with worst-case scenarios. That is what anxiety often does. It takes uncertainty and transforms it into emotional pressure. It convinces you that if you worry enough, maybe you can prevent disappointment. But worrying about tomorrow does not create peace for today. It only drains the strength your soul needs to keep moving forward. My child, the future was never meant to become your prison. You were not created to wake up every morning already emotionally exhausted by fears that have not even happened yet. Yet many people live this way constantly. Their spirit remains tense. Their thoughts remain restless. Their heart never fully relaxes because anxiety keeps whispering that something terrible is always about to happen. And after carrying that fear long enough, peace begins feeling unfamiliar. Some of you have become so accustomed to stress that calm moments almost make you uncomfortable. You are always waiting for the next problem, always preparing for disappointment, always expecting things to fall apart eventually. But I do not want fear shaping the way you live your life. Fear keeps people from enjoying the blessings already present around them. Fear keeps people emotionally distracted from moments of joy. Fear keeps people from resting even when nothing dangerous is happening. And over time, anxiety quietly steals years of peace from the heart. My child, I need you to stop trying to control every possible outcome yourself. You cannot carry the entire future on your shoulders. That burden was never meant for you. Some of you are mentally exhausted because you are carrying responsibilities emotionally long before they even arrive. You are fighting imaginary battles inside your thoughts every day. You keep asking, what if, until your mind becomes overwhelmed by possibilities that may never happen. But fear multiplies confusion. Peace grows through trust. I know trusting feels difficult after painful seasons. I know disappointment made uncertainty feel dangerous. I know there were moments where life changed suddenly and wounded your confidence deeply. That is why your mind now tries to prepare for every possible negative outcome. You think constant worry will protect you, but it is slowly exhausting your soul instead. There are people listening right now who secretly feel terrified about their future. They fear financial collapse. They fear loneliness. They fear failure. They fear losing people they love. They fear becoming stuck forever. And because fear constantly speaks into their future, they struggle to enjoy the present season at all. But hear me carefully today. The future ahead of you is not as hopeless as fear keeps telling you. Yes, there will still be challenges. Yes, there will still be moments requiring courage. But there will also be peace. There will also be provision. There will also be healing, connection, wisdom, and unexpected blessings along the way. Fear only shows you darkness. It never shows you the possibility of restoration. My child, some of the things you are terrified about today will never even happen. Yet anxiety has already stolen your peace over them repeatedly. Do not surrender your emotional energy to imaginary disasters every day. You cannot fully live while constantly trapped inside fear of tomorrow. There are moments where your greatest act of faith is simply resting emotionally instead of endlessly panicking about the future. Rest does not mean irresponsibility. Peace does not mean pretending challenges do not exist. It means trusting that I will continue guiding you step by step instead of demanding that you understand the entire journey immediately. You keep asking for every answer at once, but often I only give enough light for the next step, because faith grows through dependence, not total control. My child, your future is still being written. There are opportunities ahead you cannot currently imagine. There are people ahead who will bring encouragement into your life. There are answers ahead that will calm fears currently overwhelming your mind. There are moments ahead where you will look back and realize how much unnecessary anxiety you carried over things that never unfolded the way you feared. Do not let uncertainty rob you of today's peace. There is strength available for this moment. There is grace available for this season. And there will be wisdom available when tomorrow arrives too. You do not need to solve your entire future tonight. You do not need to carry every possible burden emotionally all at once. Breathe again. Slow your thoughts again. Release the pressure of trying to control everything yourself. Some things are beyond your understanding right now, but they are not beyond my ability to guide. My child, peace begins returning when you stop believing fear deserves complete authority over your mind. Anxiety may speak loudly, but it does not decide your destiny. You have survived difficult seasons before. You have endured moments you once thought would completely break you. And even now, despite your fears, your heart is still searching for hope. That matters deeply. The future ahead of you still carries purpose. The future ahead of you still carries beauty. The future ahead of you still carries moments of healing your current anxiety cannot fully imagine yet. So stop speaking about tomorrow as though disaster is guaranteed. Stop assuming every uncertain season will end painfully. Stop feeding fear more attention than faith. You are not walking into the future alone. I am already there before you arrive. If you are choosing to release fear about the future, type "I trust tomorrow" to God in the comments below. And continue into the next part, because I am going to reveal why many people secretly struggle with feeling unworthy of love, peace, and success, and how hidden shame quietly sabotages the blessings standing right in front of them. There are people who secretly believe they are too damaged for the life they pray about. They ask for peace, yet deep inside they feel unworthy of it. They pray for love, yet secretly expect rejection. They ask for opportunities, yet feel uncomfortable when doors begin opening. And the painful part is this: many of them do not even realize how deeply shame has shaped the way they see themselves. My child, I know the hidden shame you carry. I know there are moments when you look at your past and quietly feel embarrassed by certain chapters of your life. I know there are memories you wish nobody knew about, mistakes you replay repeatedly in your mind, seasons where you feel you failed yourself, failed others, or failed the future you once imagined for your life. And because of those memories, part of your heart keeps believing you no longer deserve beautiful things. But hear me clearly today. You are not disqualified because you struggled. You are not unworthy because you made mistakes. You are not too broken for healing, peace, love, or restoration. The enemy wants shame attached to your identity because shame keeps people hiding from the very blessings they desperately need. Shame convinces people they should settle for less. It tells them they are too flawed to be fully loved, too damaged to succeed, too weak to begin again. And slowly, shame becomes a prison around the soul. There are people listening right now who secretly sabotage opportunities because they do not feel worthy of success. They push healthy people away because deep inside they expect abandonment. They avoid stepping into new chapters because insecurity whispers that failure is inevitable. And without realizing it, they become their own greatest obstacle. My child, shame changes the way people receive life. When someone secretly believes they are unworthy, they struggle to accept kindness fully. Compliments feel uncomfortable. Healthy love feels suspicious. Peace feels temporary. They wait for everything good to eventually disappear because shame taught them they do not deserve stability. But I never intended for you to live beneath constant self-condemnation. Yes, you have flaws. Yes, you made choices you regret. Yes, there are moments where you wish your journey had unfolded differently. But your mistakes are not greater than my ability to restore your life. Some of you are still punishing yourselves for seasons I already wanted to heal. You keep reopening old wounds mentally every day. You replay failures repeatedly until shame becomes louder than grace. You define yourself through moments that were never meant to permanently define your identity. My child, growth requires grace. You cannot heal while attacking yourself constantly. You cannot move forward while dragging old shame behind you every day. And you cannot fully receive peace while secretly believing you deserve punishment forever. There are people who look confident externally while secretly feeling emotionally unworthy inside. They compare themselves constantly. They assume others are better, stronger, smarter, more lovable, more deserving. And because of those hidden insecurities, they struggle to recognize the value still existing within them. But comparison is poisoning many hearts. You were never created to become a copy of someone else's story. Your life carries its own purpose. Your journey carries its own lessons. Your healing carries its own timing. Stop measuring your worth through another person's progress. My child, some of the people you admire are secretly carrying wounds too. Some smiles hide battles. Some achievements hide loneliness. Some appearances hide exhaustion. Do not compare your private struggles to another person's public image. You do not fully know the battles others carry silently, and they do not fully know the strength it took for you to survive yours either. There is still beauty inside you that shame tried to bury. There is still purpose inside you that fear tried to silence. There is still light inside you that disappointment could not completely destroy. Even now, despite everything you survived, your spirit is still searching for healing. That matters deeply. You are not beyond restoration. My child, I need you to stop introducing yourself to life through shame. Stop speaking about yourself as though you are permanently damaged. Stop assuming every blessing belongs to someone else more deserving. Peace belongs in your life too. Healthy love belongs in your life too. Growth belongs in your life too. Opportunities belong in your life too. You do not need to become perfect before healing begins. You do not need to earn worthiness through exhaustion. You do not need to carry endless guilt to prove you learned from your mistakes. There is a difference between wisdom and shame. Wisdom learns from the past. Shame remains chained to it, and some of you have stayed emotionally chained to old seasons for far too long. My child, there are beautiful things ahead of you that your insecurity cannot fully imagine yet. There are peaceful moments waiting ahead. There are healthier relationships ahead. There are opportunities ahead where your gifts will finally be recognized instead of overlooked. But first, you must stop believing you are too broken to receive them. The enemy keeps reminding you about old failures because he wants your confidence weak before your next season begins. He knows insecure hearts hesitate before blessings. They question opportunities. They shrink back from healthy love. They reject themselves before life even has the chance to embrace them. But I am rebuilding your confidence now. Not shallow confidence built on pride. Deep confidence built on knowing your worth still exists even after difficult seasons. My child, one mistake did not erase your value. One heartbreak did not erase your purpose. One painful chapter did not cancel your future. You are still growing. You are still healing. and you are still worthy of good things entering your life again. So stop speaking about yourself with constant harshness. Stop assuming every future chapter will repeat old pain. Stop expecting rejection before joy even has a chance to arrive. There is still peace ahead for you. There is still restoration ahead for you. There is still purpose ahead for you. And there is still love ahead for the parts of your heart that became tired of feeling unworthy. If you are ready to release shame and receive healing again, type "I receive grace" in the comments below. And stay with me into the next part, because I am going to reveal why some people remain spiritually stuck for years, and how hidden bitterness quietly blocks peace, healing, and emotional freedom from entering the heart. There are wounds that hurt deeply for a moment, and then there are wounds that quietly settle inside the heart for years. Not because the pain was small, but because you never fully released it. You carried it silently. You buried it beneath responsibilities, distractions, and daily routines. Yet even though time passed, the hurt continued living inside your spirit in hidden ways. My child, I know the pain you still carry from people who wounded you unfairly. I know there are moments when old memories suddenly return and your heart tightens again. I know there were people who betrayed your trust, ignored your kindness, rejected your love, or spoke against you when you least expected it. Some abandoned you during your hardest seasons. Some used your compassion while giving little in return. Some damaged your confidence so deeply that even now you still struggle to fully heal from what happened. And slowly, bitterness began growing beneath the surface, not always loudly, not always visibly, but quietly. Bitterness is dangerous because it rarely announces itself immediately. It grows slowly through repeated disappointment and unresolved pain. It convinces the heart to stay guarded constantly. It whispers that trusting people again is foolish. It tells you to protect yourself emotionally by expecting the worst from everyone around you. And after a while, bitterness does more than protect your wounds. It begins poisoning your peace. My child, there are people listening right now who secretly feel emotionally heavy every day because they are carrying resentment they never fully released. They replay conversations repeatedly. They mentally relive painful moments over and over. They imagine what they wish they had said. And without realizing it, the past continues controlling their emotions long after the event itself ended. That is not freedom. You cannot fully heal while constantly feeding old pain. I know forgiveness feels difficult when wounds were deep. I know there are situations where people never apologized. I know there are moments where injustice still hurts because your heart genuinely tried to love, help, or stay loyal. And I am not asking you to pretend the pain did not matter. What happened hurt you deeply. But bitterness will hurt you even longer if you continue carrying it forever. My child, forgiveness is not saying the wrong was acceptable. Forgiveness is refusing to let the wound continue controlling your soul. Some of you are emotionally exhausted because part of your heart remains trapped inside old battles. You smile externally while privately carrying anger, disappointment, and resentment that slowly drains your peace. And because the bitterness remains unresolved, new relationships become harder to trust. New opportunities become harder to enjoy. New seasons become harder to embrace fully. Pain from the past keeps leaking into the present. That is why healing requires release. You cannot carry peace and bitterness together forever. Eventually, one will overpower the other. The enemy loves unresolved bitterness because bitter hearts struggle to rest emotionally. They become suspicious, defensive, easily discouraged. They expect betrayal before trust even has a chance to grow. And eventually, isolation increases because the heart becomes too afraid to risk vulnerability again. But I did not create you to live emotionally imprisoned by old wounds. There are healthier seasons waiting for you beyond this pain. There are peaceful relationships ahead that should not be punished for what previous people did to your heart. Do not allow past betrayal to destroy your future ability to love, trust, and experience joy again. My child, bitterness also blinds people to blessings already around them. When the heart stays focused on old pain constantly, gratitude slowly weakens. Joy becomes harder to notice. Small moments of peace become overlooked because the mind remains emotionally attached to unresolved hurt. That is why some people carry successful lives externally, while internally remaining deeply unhappy. The wound never healed, the anger never softened, the bitterness kept growing silently beneath everything else, and eventually exhaustion consumed their peace completely. I do not want that for you. There are people who hurt you because they themselves were broken internally. Some acted from insecurity, some acted from selfishness, some acted from immaturity. And while their actions were painful, carrying bitterness forever will not heal the damage they caused. It only extends the suffering deeper into your future. My child, release does not happen overnight sometimes. Healing emotional wounds can take time, especially when trust was deeply damaged. But every step toward forgiveness frees your own soul more than the person who hurt you. Because bitterness keeps you emotionally tied to painful seasons long after they should have ended. I want your heart free again. Free from replaying old conversations constantly. Free from carrying resentment into every new relationship. Free from expecting disappointment before joy has the chance to grow. You deserve peace beyond the pain. Some of you secretly believe holding on to anger protects you from being hurt again. But constantly living emotionally guarded also blocks connection, healing, and trust from fully entering your life. Wisdom creates healthy boundaries. Bitterness creates emotional walls so high that even healing struggles to enter. My child, not everyone who enters your future will repeat the sins of your past. There are still kind people ahead. There are still trustworthy people ahead. There are still moments of genuine love, peace, and restoration waiting for you. But bitterness cannot continue leading your heart if you want to experience them fully. You have carried enough emotional weight already. Enough sleepless nights. Enough overthinking. Enough silent hurt. Do not let old pain steal future joy too. My child, there are people who wounded you unfairly, but their actions do not have permission to permanently harden your spirit. Your heart still carries goodness worth protecting. Your compassion still matters. Your ability to love still matters. And one painful chapter does not mean your future will forever repeat the same suffering. Healing is possible. Peace is possible. Emotional freedom is possible. But bitterness must slowly lose its hold over your heart. So stop feeding old pain every day. Stop reopening wounds mentally that I am trying to heal gently. Stop carrying resentment like it is part of your identity now. You were not created to remain emotionally trapped in old sorrow forever. There are lighter seasons ahead. There are peaceful mornings ahead. There are moments ahead where joy will no longer feel distant and temporary. But first, your heart must release what has been poisoning it quietly for too long. If you are ready to release bitterness and move toward peace again, type "I choose freedom" in the comments below and continue into the next part, because I am going to reveal how hidden pride and the need for control quietly create stress, anxiety, and spiritual exhaustion in many lives without people even recognizing it. There are moments when your mind becomes so overwhelmed trying to manage every possible outcome that you no longer know how to rest emotionally. You keep planning, calculating, worrying, overthinking, and preparing yourself for every potential problem. Because somewhere deep inside your heart, you believe that if you stay in control, maybe you can prevent pain from happening again. But my child, the constant need to control everything is slowly exhausting your spirit. I know why you became this way. I know disappointment made uncertainty feel dangerous. I know betrayal taught you to always stay alert emotionally. I know painful seasons made you feel like if you did not handle everything yourself, life would fall apart around you. And slowly you began carrying burdens that were never meant to sit permanently on your shoulders. You try to control conversations before they happen. You try to control people's opinions of you, You try to control every detail of the future. You try to control outcomes that are beyond your reach. And because of this, your thoughts rarely rest. Your mind keeps running even when your body is tired. My child, there is a difference between wisdom and control. Wisdom prepares responsibly. Control becomes fear disguised as protection. Some of you secretly believe that if you relax emotionally for even one moment, something terrible will happen. You remain tense constantly. Your spirit stays alert all the time. You overanalyze situations repeatedly because fear keeps convincing you that disaster is always close. But that is not peace. That is survival mode. And many hearts have been living in survival mode for far too long. There are people listening right now who are mentally exhausted because they are trying to carry tomorrow before tomorrow even arrives. They feel responsible for fixing everything, managing everything, solving everything, and preventing every possible disappointment around them. And over time, the pressure slowly crushes their joy. My child, you were never meant to function like this forever. You are human, not a machine designed to endlessly carry emotional pressure without rest. Some of the anxiety inside you comes from trying to control things that were never fully yours to control in the first place. You cannot force people to understand your heart. You cannot force every situation to unfold exactly the way you imagined. You cannot prevent every painful moment from existing. And you cannot heal emotionally while constantly trying to predict every future problem before it happens. Control often creates the very exhaustion you are praying to escape. That is why surrender matters deeply. Not surrender rooted in weakness. Surrender rooted in trust. Trusting me enough to believe that even when you cannot see the full picture, I am still guiding your steps. My child, some of you are carrying responsibility for people who refuse to change themselves. You keep draining your energy, trying to rescue everyone around you, while your own soul becomes tired and neglected. You feel guilty resting, guilty saying no, guilty creating healthy boundaries because somewhere inside you believe your worth comes from constantly fixing everything for everyone else. But exhausting yourself is not the same as loving people wisely. Some burdens belong in my hands, not yours. There are situations you keep replaying mentally because you desperately want certainty. You want guarantees. You want every answer before taking the next step. But faith often requires movement before complete understanding arrives. You keep waiting for fear to disappear completely before trusting again. You keep waiting for certainty before taking action. You keep waiting for perfect conditions before moving forward. And meanwhile, life keeps passing, while anxiety remains in control. My child, you cannot fully live while fear constantly demands total control over your future. There are moments where peace begins only when you finally release what you were never meant to carry alone. Some people become spiritually exhausted because they confuse control with strength. They believe independence means never needing help. They believe vulnerability is weakness. They believe trusting others will only lead to disappointment. And slowly, isolation grows. Stress increases. Emotional pressure becomes heavier, because controlling everything eventually becomes impossible. My child, the future ahead of you does not require perfection from you every moment. You are allowed to breathe, allowed to rest, allowed to admit when your heart feels tired, allowed to trust me one step at a time instead of demanding complete certainty about every detail. You do not need to hold your life together through constant fear. I am still present, even in uncertain seasons. There are people listening right now who secretly fear losing control because previous chaos wounded them deeply. They learned to survive by staying emotionally guarded and hyper-aware of every possible danger around them. But healing means learning that peace is possible without constant tension, controlling your spirit. You deserve peace deeper than temporary control. You deserve mornings where anxiety no longer speaks louder than hope, You deserve relationships where your heart does not constantly feel afraid. You deserve rest without guilt. And yes, responsibilities still matter. Wisdom still matters. Preparation still matters. But carrying the emotional weight of the entire future every day is slowly draining your soul. My child, let go of the illusion that you must control every outcome for life to become safe again. Some of the most beautiful moments ahead of you will arrive unexpectedly. Some blessings will come through doors you never planned for. Some healing will happen gradually in ways your anxious mind could never fully predict beforehand. That is why trust matters, not blind denial, not pretending challenges do not exist, but trusting that you are not walking through uncertainty alone. There are things I am arranging behind the scenes that your human understanding cannot fully see yet. Conversations, opportunities, protection, timing, and connections are still unfolding quietly around your future, even now. So stop carrying tomorrow like a burden every waking moment. Stop overthinking yourself into emotional exhaustion. Stop believing you must solve everything alone before peace can finally enter your life. Peace begins when control loosens its grip over your heart. My child, you have carried enough pressure already, enough fear, enough tension, enough sleepless nights caused by overthinking situations beyond your control. Now learn to breathe again emotionally. Learn to trust again. Learn to rest your spirit without guilt, because the future ahead of you still carries goodness, even if uncertainty temporarily makes it difficult to see clearly. If you are ready to release the pressure of controlling everything, type, "I surrender my worries," in the comments below. And stay with me for the next part, because I am going to reveal why many people unknowingly sabotage their own peace through the words they speak daily, and how your voice can either strengthen your future or slowly weaken your spirit. There are people who pray for peace while speaking fear over themselves every single day. They ask for healing, yet constantly repeat words of hopelessness. They ask for open doors, yet declare defeat before opportunities even arrive. And without realizing it, the words flowing from their mouth slowly shape the atmosphere of their life. My child, your voice carries more power than you understand. I know many of the negative things you say about yourself come from pain. I know disappointment taught you to expect less from life. I know fear made you cautious with hope because you became tired of feeling hurt. But you must become careful not to speak permanent defeat over temporary seasons. Some of you wake up already declaring exhaustion before the day even begins. Some constantly call themselves failures. Some repeatedly say, "Nothing ever works out for me." Some speak about the future as though disaster is guaranteed. And after speaking this way long enough, your own spirit begins believing those words. My child, fear already fights your mind daily. Do not let your own voice join the attack against your peace. The enemy understands how powerful words can become. That is why he constantly tries to fill your thoughts with negativity first, because eventually thoughts repeated long enough become declarations spoken aloud. And declarations shape expectations. Expectations shape decisions. And decisions slowly shape the direction of your life. That is why hopeless words are dangerous. Not because speaking honestly about pain is wrong, but because constantly agreeing with defeat weakens your spirit over time. There are people listening right now who have spent years speaking against themselves without realizing the damage it created internally. They joke negatively about their worth. They criticize themselves constantly. They expect rejection before connection. They expect failure before trying. And because of this, confidence slowly disappears from their heart. My child, your soul listens carefully to the words you repeat most often. If you constantly declare that you are broken, your spirit begins living beneath that identity. If you constantly declare that nothing good will happen, hope weakens little by little. If you constantly speak fear about tomorrow, anxiety grows stronger inside your mind. but I did not create your voice to become a weapon against your own future. There is enough darkness in the world already. Your heart does not need your own words increasing the heaviness you are already fighting. Some of you learned negative speech from environments where discouragement was normal. You grew up hearing criticism more than encouragement. You became accustomed to fear-based thinking. And over time, speaking negatively started feeling realistic instead of destructive. But realism without hope quickly becomes despair. My child, I am not asking you to deny difficult situations. I am asking you to stop surrendering your future to hopelessness before your story is finished. There are still chapters ahead you cannot currently see. There are still opportunities ahead that fear has not imagined yet. There are still moments of healing ahead that your present pain cannot fully understand yet. So stop speaking as though your life is permanently ruined. You survive too much to keep condemning yourself every day. There are people who unknowingly sabotage relationships because they constantly speak insecurity over themselves. They assume people will leave before love even grows. They expect betrayal before trust has a chance to deepen, and eventually their fear influences their actions until the relationship becomes strained beneath the pressure of constant anxiety. Words shape emotional environments. The atmosphere you repeatedly create through your speech eventually influences how you live, think, connect, and respond to life itself. That is why gratitude matters deeply. Gratitude shifts the focus of the heart. It reminds your spirit that even during difficult seasons, goodness still exists somewhere around you. Some of you have spent so much time focusing on what is missing that you stopped noticing what is still present. You became so consumed by future worries that present blessings became invisible to your heart. But gratitude rebuilds emotional strength slowly. A grateful spirit survives difficult seasons differently than a constantly negative one. My child, the words you speak about yourself matter. Speak gently to your soul again. Stop insulting your own future. Stop attacking your worth every day. Stop calling yourself permanently damaged because you survived painful seasons. There is still purpose inside you. There is still growth ahead of you. There is still beauty waiting in chapters you have not reached yet. You are not helping yourself by constantly expecting disaster. Fear already tries hard enough to discourage you without your own voice strengthening it further. Some of you are emotionally exhausted because negativity became a habit. You expect problems automatically. You prepare emotionally for disappointment constantly. And while wisdom requires awareness, hopelessness drains peace from the soul. My child, your life is not doomed because one season was painful. Your future is not cursed because previous chapters were difficult. Your destiny is not failure simply because progress has been slower than expected. There are moments ahead where your words must align with healing instead of fear. Speak peace over your future, even while uncertainty still exists. Speak growth over your life, even while healing still feels incomplete. Speak hope over your tomorrow, even while answers remain delayed. Not because everything is easy right now, but because your current pain does not have authority to define your entire future. My child, there are weary people around you, listening carefully to the way you speak too. Your words may become life to someone secretly struggling. Your encouragement may reach hearts carrying invisible battles. Never underestimate how deeply hope spoken sincerely can impact another soul. That is why I want your voice filled with wisdom instead of constant despair. You have spent enough years speaking from fear. Now begin speaking from faith again, not shallow positivity, but quiet confidence that your story is still unfolding. The future ahead of you still carries peace. The future ahead of you still carries restoration. And the future ahead of you still carries blessings. Fear cannot currently imagine. If you are ready to stop speaking defeat over your life, type, "My words will carry hope," in the comments below. And if these messages are strengthening your spirit, Take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may need encouragement today. And if you feel led to support this ministry, the link below is there for you. Your support helps these messages continue reaching hearts around the world that are carrying silent pain and searching for peace. Stay with me into the next part, because I am going to reveal why hidden discouragement slowly destroys motivation, purpose, and emotional strength in many lives, and how to rise again when your heart feels tired of trying. There are seasons when disappointment repeats itself so many times that your heart quietly begins losing motivation. At first you fought hard, you prayed boldly, you believed things would change quickly. But after carrying pressure for too long, something inside you slowly became weary. Not only physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and eventually you reached moments where you no longer felt excited about the future the way you once did. My child, I know the exhaustion of trying again after repeated disappointment. I know how difficult it becomes to stay hopeful when previous efforts ended painfully. I know there were times you gave your best, only to feel overlooked, rejected, or delayed again. And after enough discouragement, your spirit began protecting itself by expecting less from life. That is what discouragement often does. It quietly lowers expectation. It convinces people to stop trying before failure has the chance to hurt them again. It whispers, "Why hope if disappointment will only return?" And slowly, the fire inside the heart begins fading, little by little. There are people listening right now who secretly feel emotionally numb because they became tired of carrying hope through difficult seasons. They still move through life outwardly, but inwardly, they no longer expect much. They survive, but they stopped dreaming deeply. They continue functioning, but their spirit feels disconnected from excitement and purpose. My child, discouragement is dangerous because it does not always arrive dramatically. Sometimes it grows slowly through repeated delays, unanswered prayers, exhaustion, and emotional pressure, until one day you realize your heart no longer feels alive the way it once did. You stop believing change is possible. You stop expecting joy to return. You stop imagining a future different from the pain you already know. And eventually discouragement convinces you that surviving is all life will ever become. But I did not create you merely to survive. There is still life ahead of you, beyond this exhaustion. I know there were moments when you wanted to give up completely. Moments when you questioned whether your effort even mattered anymore. Moments when your heart whispered, "What is the point of trying again?" Because disappointment had become so familiar. But listen carefully to me now. The fact that your spirit is still listening for hope means your story is not over. There is still something alive inside you that refuses to completely surrender. That quiet endurance matters more than you realize. My child, discouragement distorts perspective. When your heart becomes weary, you start seeing life only through the lens of pain. You forget previous victories. You overlook small progress. You ignore quiet growth happening within you because exhaustion keeps your attention fixed on what still feels unfinished. But even now, growth is happening. You are stronger than previous versions of yourself. You survived emotional battles that once would have destroyed your peace completely. You gained wisdom through suffering. You learned discernment through disappointment. You developed compassion through your own hidden pain. The process changed you deeply. Do not underestimate that growth simply because the journey has been difficult. There are people who quit just before healing began unfolding. People who abandoned purpose because discouragement temporarily blinded them to what was still possible ahead. Do not let temporary exhaustion make permanent decisions for your future. Rest if needed, recover if needed, slow down if needed, but do not completely surrender your hope. My child, some of you became discouraged because you expected transformation to happen instantly. You thought healing would erase all fear overnight. You thought growth would remove every struggle immediately. But real transformation often happens gradually, quietly, layer by layer, and because progress feels slow sometimes, you mistakenly assume nothing is changing. But seeds grow beneath the surface long before visible fruit appears. The same is true inside your life. Even now, while you feel tired, strength is still rebuilding quietly within you. Even now, while uncertainty remains, wisdom is still developing. Even now, while answers feel delayed, preparation is still unfolding behind the scenes. You are not as stuck as discouragement keeps telling you. My child, purpose still exists beyond this exhaustion. There are conversations ahead that will reignite hope inside you again. There are opportunities ahead that will remind you your gifts still matter. There are peaceful moments ahead where your soul will finally breathe without constant pressure crushing your spirit. But discouragement wants you to stop before reaching those seasons. That is why you must guard your heart carefully when weariness increases. Do not isolate yourself completely. Do not feed hopelessness every day. Do not repeatedly speak defeat over your future. And do not believe that one painful season erased your purpose forever. You still matter deeply. Your life still carries meaning. Your future still carries possibilities. Your current exhaustion cannot fully see yet. My child, some of the strongest people are not those who never became tired. They are the ones who kept standing back up even after discouragement repeatedly tried to bury their hope. That resilience is growing inside you too. Not loud strength built on pride. Quiet strength built through endurance. You survived difficult nights before. You carried burdens you thought would completely break you. And even now, despite your exhaustion, your spirit is still searching for healing instead of fully surrendering to darkness. That matters deeply. So stop speaking as though your future ended because your heart became tired temporarily. Stop assuming joy will never return simply because this season has been heavy. Stop believing discouragement deserves the final word over your life. There is still beauty ahead. There is still healing ahead. There is still purpose ahead. And there is still strength growing quietly inside you, even now. If you are choosing to keep going despite your exhaustion, type, "I will rise again" in the comments below. And stay with me into the next part, because I am going to reveal how hidden envy and comparison quietly steal peace, confidence, and gratitude from many hearts without them even realizing it. There are people who spend so much time watching the lives of others that they slowly lose gratitude for their own journey. They compare timelines, relationships, finances, opportunities, appearance, success, and progress until their heart becomes quietly dissatisfied with everything around them. And the painful part is this: comparison rarely motivates peace. Most of the time, it slowly destroys it. My child, I know how difficult it has been watching others move ahead while your own prayers still feel delayed. I know there were moments where you smiled for people externally while inwardly asking why life seemed easier for them. You saw others receiving opportunities you had hoped for. You watched people step into relationships while your own heart still felt lonely. You saw others celebrating breakthroughs while you remained carrying uncertainty and unanswered questions. And slowly, comparison began whispering dangerous things into your spirit. It told you that you were behind. It told you that everyone else was progressing except you. It told you that maybe you missed your chance. And after listening to those thoughts long enough, your peace slowly weakened. My child, comparison blinds people to the beauty of their own journey. When your eyes remain fixed on another person's life constantly, you stop recognizing how much strength has already grown inside you. You forget the battles you survived. You ignore the healing quietly unfolding within you. You overlook the progress happening slowly because you are measuring yourself against timelines that were never assigned to your life. Not every story unfolds at the same pace. Some people bloom early. Others bloom after seasons of hidden preparation. But hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. There are people listening right now who secretly feel ashamed because their life does not look the way they imagined by now. They thought they would already be successful, stable, married, healed, financially secure, emotionally strong. And because reality unfolded differently than expected, disappointment slowly turned into comparison. But hear me carefully today. Your worth is not determined by another person's progress. The enemy uses comparison because insecure hearts become easier to discourage. Once people begin measuring their value through someone else's achievements, gratitude weakens, confidence weakens, joy weakens, and eventually they begin feeling like failures simply because their journey looks different. But different does not mean worthless. My child, some of the people you compare yourself to are carrying hidden battles you cannot see. Public success does not guarantee inner peace. Some smiles hide exhaustion. Some achievements hide loneliness. Some people appearing strong externally are secretly struggling emotionally in ways you would never fully understand. That is why comparison is dangerous. You are comparing your private struggles to another person's public image, and doing that will always distort perspective. There are lessons I needed to teach you through your unique process. There are strengths being developed inside you that comfort alone could never create. The delays taught you endurance. The disappointments taught you wisdom. The loneliness taught you compassion for others carrying invisible pain. The struggle shaped parts of your character that future blessings will depend on later. Do not despise the process simply because it feels slower than someone else's. My child, comparison also creates unnecessary pressure. Some of you are emotionally exhausted because you constantly feel like you are falling behind in life. You rush healing because you compare your progress to others. You pressure yourself financially because you compare your lifestyle to others. You question your appearance, your purpose, your value, and your future because comparison quietly convinced you that your journey is not enough. But peace cannot survive where comparison controls the heart constantly. There will always be someone ahead of you in certain areas of life, and there will always be someone praying for the strength you already possess too. That is why gratitude matters deeply. Gratitude protects your heart from the poison of comparison. It reminds you that your life still carries beauty even while certain prayers remain unanswered. My child, stop speaking about yourself as though you are late to your own destiny. You are not forgotten because your journey looks different. You are not failing because healing took time. You are not behind because growth unfolded gradually. There are things developing in your life right now that comparison cannot fully understand. Some of the strongest souls are formed through hidden seasons nobody applauds publicly. Quiet endurance matters. Faithfulness during difficult seasons matters. The ability to keep moving forward while carrying hidden pain matters. Do not reduce your entire journey to what has not happened yet. You have already survived more than you realize. There are people who would have collapsed beneath the emotional weight you carried quietly, yet you are still here, still searching for hope, still trying to heal, still listening for peace. That resilience matters deeply. My child, your assignment was never to become another person. Your purpose is connected to your own unique journey. The experiences you survived, the wisdom you gained, and the compassion growing inside you are shaping a story different from everyone else around you. And that story still carries value. There are blessings ahead meant specifically for your path. There are opportunities connected to your gifts. There are relationships connected to your healing. There are moments of peace connected to your growth. But comparison keeps distracting your eyes away from what is still unfolding inside your own life. Stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. Stop comparing your private healing to another person's public success. Stop speaking as though your future disappeared because your process required more time. The timing of your life is not a mistake. My child, there are beautiful chapters ahead that comparison cannot currently see yet. There are moments ahead where you will finally understand why your journey unfolded differently. And one day, the very experiences that once made you feel behind will become the wisdom, helping others survive their own difficult seasons too. But stut. So release the pressure of trying to match someone else's timeline. Release the fear that you missed your chance. Release the shame comparison keeps placing on your heart. Your journey still matters deeply, and your future is still unfolding beautifully, even if the process feels slower than expected right now. If you are ready to stop comparing your life and trust your own journey again, type, "My path has purpose," in the comments below, and continue into the next part, because I am going to reveal why hidden fear of failure keeps many people stuck in hesitation for years, and how courage begins growing even before confidence fully returns. There are people who secretly want change so badly, yet fear keeps them frozen in the same place year after year. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack potential, but because deep inside, they are terrified of failing again. My child, I know how painful failure felt for you. I know there were moments when things collapsed after you gave your best effort. I know there were seasons where you trusted people and ended up hurt. Times when you stepped forward with hope, only to feel embarrassed, rejected, or disappointed afterward. And because those experiences wounded your confidence deeply, fear slowly began convincing you that staying still felt safer than risking pain again. That is how many dreams quietly die. Not because people stop caring completely, but because fear exhausts their courage, little by little. Some of you have been standing at the edge of opportunities for a very long time. You think about taking the next step constantly, yet hesitation keeps pulling you backward. You overanalyze every possibility. You imagine every worst-case scenario. You wait for complete certainty before moving forward. And because of this, years pass while fear quietly controls your decisions. My child, waiting for fear to disappear completely before acting will keep you trapped for a very long time. Courage does not begin when fear vanishes. Courage begins when trust becomes stronger than fear. There are people listening right now who feel emotionally stuck because they became afraid of making mistakes again. They fear choosing the wrong path. They fear embarrassing themselves. They fear wasting time. They fear rejection. And because of these fears, they remain trapped inside hesitation while opportunities slowly pass by. But I did not create you to spend your entire life hiding from possibility. Failure is painful, yes, but living forever beneath fear is even more painful. Some of you secretly believe your previous failures permanently disqualified you from future success. You replay old mistakes repeatedly until shame weakens your confidence again. You compare yourself to people who seem naturally successful and quietly convince yourself that maybe you are simply not capable enough. But hear me clearly today. One failed season does not define your entire future. One painful chapter does not erase your purpose. And one mistake does not cancel your ability to grow, learn, and rise again. My child, some of the wisest and strongest people became that way precisely because they survived failure and kept moving forward anyway. Failure taught them humility. Failure taught them discernment. Failure taught them resilience. The painful seasons strengthened parts of their character comfort never could. Do not let fear make you ashamed of being human. Growth often includes mistakes. Healing often includes setbacks. Learning often includes uncomfortable moments. But none of those things mean your story is over. There are people who never fully step into their purpose because they spend their entire life trying to avoid discomfort. They avoid risks. They avoid vulnerability. They avoid opportunities requiring courage. And eventually regret becomes heavier than the failure they feared originally. My child, you cannot fully grow while remaining emotionally hidden from every challenge. Some doors require courage before confidence arrives. Some opportunities require movement before certainty appears. And some breakthroughs only happen after you finally stop allowing fear to control every decision. I know your confidence was wounded by previous disappointments. I know rejection left scars inside your spirit. I know there are moments when even small decisions feel overwhelming because fear constantly whispers about what could go wrong. But fear only shows you potential pain. It never shows you the possibility of healing, growth, joy, or success waiting on the other side of courage. There are beautiful things ahead of you that hesitation cannot currently reach. New beginnings, healthier relationships, unexpected opportunities, creative ideas, purpose-filled moments. But if fear remains in complete control, you will continue standing outside blessings you have already prayed for. My child, stop demanding perfection from yourself before taking the next step. You are allowed to learn, allowed to grow, allowed to become stronger gradually. Some of you feel pressure to immediately have every answer before beginning. But life rarely unfolds that way. Most growth happens while moving forward step by step, not while waiting for complete certainty. Trust grows through movement. Confidence grows through experience. And courage grows every time you choose action, despite fear still speaking loudly. My child, there is still strength inside you, even after disappointment tried to weaken your spirit. The fact that your heart still desires healing, purpose, and peace means something important inside you remains alive. Do not bury that part of yourself beneath fear forever. There are people around you who need the wisdom your future story will carry. There are conversations ahead where your testimony will encourage someone else who feels afraid too. There are victories ahead that will remind you why giving up would have been a mistake. But first, you must stop allowing fear of failure to decide your future for you. You survived difficult seasons before. You endured heartbreak before. You carried pressure before. And even when you thought your strength was gone completely, somehow you kept moving forward. That resilience still exists inside you now. So stop speaking as though failure has authority over your destiny. Stop believing fear deserves the final word over your future. Stop assuming one painful season means every future chapter will unfold the same way. There is still purpose ahead. There is still peace ahead. There is still opportunity ahead. And there is still courage growing inside you, even while fear tries to convince you otherwise. My child, you do not need to become fearless overnight. You only need to stop bowing to fear every time it speaks. Take the next step. Trust me, one moment at a time, and allow courage to grow slowly through obedience instead of waiting for total certainty first. If you are ready to move forward despite your fear, type "I choose courage over fear" in the comments below. And stay with me into the next part, because I am going to reveal why many people secretly struggle with feeling spiritually distant during difficult seasons, and how silence from heaven often carries deeper purpose than they first realize. There are seasons when you pray with all your heart, yet the silence feels louder than the answers. You ask for direction, but confusion remains. You cry out for relief, but the burden still feels heavy. You wait for signs, breakthroughs, and reassurance, yet day after day, it seems like nothing changes. And slowly, your heart begins asking questions you are almost afraid to say aloud. Did God forget me? Why does heaven feel silent? Why do my prayers seem unanswered? My child, I know those hidden questions inside your spirit. I know there were nights when disappointment made you feel emotionally distant from me. I know there were moments when you kept praying while secretly wondering whether anyone was truly listening. You continued trying to stay faithful outwardly, but inwardly you felt tired, confused, and emotionally empty. And because the answers did not arrive immediately, fear started whispering dangerous lies into your mind. It told you the silence meant abandonment. It told you the delay meant rejection. It told you your prayers no longer mattered. But hear me carefully today. Silence is not always absence. There are seasons where I am working deeply beneath the surface, even when you cannot yet see visible movement. Just because something is hidden does not mean nothing is happening. Roots grow silently before fruit appears openly. Healing often begins quietly before peace fully settles into the heart. Preparation often happens invisibly before opportunities finally arrive. And in the same way, there are moments when I am doing important work inside your life, even while heaven feels silent to your emotions. My child, some of the deepest growth happens during seasons where you must trust without constant reassurance. Not because I enjoy watching you struggle, but because dependence grows strongest when faith learns to stand beyond feelings alone. There are people listening right now who secretly feel spiritually exhausted. They still believe, but they feel tired emotionally. They pray, but their heart feels heavy. They continue showing up, but inwardly they wonder if anything will ever truly change. And because they cannot immediately see answers, discouragement slowly begins weakening their hope. But your emotions are not always accurate indicators of what I am doing. There were moments in your past where you thought everything was falling apart, yet later you realized I was protecting you from things you could not yet understand. There were doors you cried over when they closed, yet later you discovered those endings preserved your peace. There were delays you resented, yet later you recognized how much growth happened through the waiting. And the same truth still applies now. My child, silence often reveals what your heart truly depends on. Some people only trust when circumstances feel easy. Some only feel secure when answers arrive quickly. But deeper faith grows when trust continues even during uncertainty. I know that is difficult sometimes. I know waiting can feel emotionally painful. I know uncertainty can make your spirit restless. But do not interpret every silent season as rejection. Some prayers are being answered slowly because timing matters. Some doors are delayed because preparation matters. Some seasons feel hidden because your spirit is being strengthened in ways visible success alone could never accomplish. There are people who gave up too early because they assumed silence meant the story was over. They abandoned hope one moment before breakthrough. They stopped believing one chapter before healing finally unfolded. Do not become one of them. My child, you are not forgotten during this waiting season. I still see the tears nobody else notices. I still hear the prayers whispered quietly through exhaustion. I still know the fears hidden behind your smile. And I still care deeply about the future unfolding ahead of you. The enemy wants silent seasons to produce hopelessness, because when people stop expecting goodness, they stop recognizing opportunities when they finally appear. Discouragement blinds the heart slowly. That is why you must guard your faith carefully during difficult seasons. Do not allow temporary silence to permanently destroy your hope. There are things happening around your future that your eyes cannot yet fully recognize. Conversations are shifting. Doors are aligning. Protection is unfolding quietly. Healing is growing beneath the surface. And one day, clarity will replace confusion. You will finally understand why certain prayers took longer than expected. You will understand why certain seasons moved slowly. You will understand how silence prepared your spirit for deeper strength later. But until then, trust me enough to continue walking even when you cannot fully see ahead. My child, faith is not pretending pain does not exist. Faith is continuing to trust that I am still present, even while carrying unanswered questions. There are moments where your greatest act of faith is simply refusing to surrender to hopelessness, not having every answer, not feeling emotionally strong every moment, but continuing to believe your story still carries purpose despite uncertainty. And hear this clearly. Your prayers still matter. Your tears still matter. Your healing still matters. And your future is still unfolding even now. There are peaceful seasons ahead that your current confusion cannot fully imagine yet. There are answers ahead that will calm fears currently overwhelming your thoughts. There are breakthroughs ahead, connected to timing your human understanding cannot yet fully grasp. So stop speaking as though silence means abandonment. Stop assuming delay means rejection. Stop believing your prayers disappeared simply because the answers arrived slowly. I am still with you in this season, still guiding you, still protecting you, still strengthening you quietly, and still leading you toward a future, carrying more peace than your current exhaustion can fully see yet. If you are choosing to trust even during the silent seasons, type, "I trust you in the waiting," in the comments below. And stay with me for the final part, because I am going to reveal the powerful truth about the new season ahead of you, and why your painful chapters were never meant to become the end of your story. Before you leave this moment, I need you to hear this with your whole heart. The pain you carried was never meant to become the final chapter of your story. The disappointment was real, the exhaustion was real, the loneliness, the fear, the waiting, the confusion, all of it affected your heart deeply, but none of those things have the authority to decide how your life will end. My child, your story is still unfolding. I know there were seasons when you truly believed you would never recover emotionally. You carried burdens that became heavier than words could explain. You survived nights where your thoughts exhausted you. You walked through moments where your spirit quietly wondered if joy would ever feel natural again. Yet despite everything that tried to break you, you are still here, still breathing, still searching for peace, still listening for hope. And that matters more than you realize. The enemy wanted your exhaustion to become your identity. He wanted disappointment to convince you that nothing good remained ahead. He wanted fear to bury your confidence permanently. But your survival through difficult seasons already proved something powerful. You were never fighting alone. There were moments where you thought your strength was gone completely, yet somehow you continued moving forward. That strength came from me sustaining your spirit even when your emotions felt weak. My child, stop calling your life ruined because of painful chapters. A difficult season is not the same as a destroyed future. You have spent enough years carrying shame, fear, comparison, anxiety, bitterness, and emotional exhaustion. And now I am calling your heart into a new season. Not a perfect season without challenges, but a healthier season where peace begins replacing constant fear. A season where wisdom becomes stronger than insecurity. A season where healing becomes stronger than bitterness. A season where faith becomes stronger than hopelessness. There are things ahead of you that your current pain cannot fully imagine yet. There are mornings ahead where anxiety will no longer control your first thoughts. There are relationships ahead where your heart will feel safe instead of constantly afraid. There are moments ahead where laughter will return naturally instead of feeling forced. There are opportunities ahead connected to gifts you almost buried during your hardest seasons. And there are peaceful chapters ahead where you will finally recognize how deeply I carried you through everything you survived. My child, the process changed you, but it did not destroy you. Yes, you became more cautious. Yes, you became more aware of pain. Yes, certain disappointments wounded your confidence deeply. But hidden within those difficult seasons, strength was forming too. The waiting taught you patience. The heartbreak taught you discernment. The loneliness taught you compassion. The struggle taught you endurance. And one day you will realize that the very experiences you wished to escape became the wisdom helping someone else survive their own dark season. Nothing you survived was meaningless. Even now, healing is still unfolding inside places where fear once lived. You may not notice every change immediately, but your spirit is growing stronger. You are becoming more aware of unhealthy patterns. You are learning to guard your peace differently. You are beginning to recognize your worth beyond old labels and old wounds. That growth matters deeply. My child, stop rushing yourself emotionally. Healing is not a competition. Some wounds require time. Some fears loosen slowly. Some broken places recover layer by layer. But gradual healing is still healing. Do not condemn yourself because the process feels slow. You are not behind. You are becoming. There are people listening right now who secretly feel afraid to believe in better days again. Disappointment hurt them so deeply that hope feels dangerous. They fear expecting too much because previous heartbreak left scars inside their spirit. But I want you to trust me with your future again, not blindly ignoring reality, not pretending life has been easy, but trusting that difficult chapters were never meant to become permanent prisons around your soul. You still carry purpose. You still carry value. You still carry light inside you even after dark seasons tried to convince you otherwise. My child, there are blessings ahead that will arrive at the right time, not rushed, not delayed forever, right on time according to wisdom greater than your current understanding. There are doors ahead that will open without forcing. There are people ahead who will recognize the beauty of your heart instead of taking advantage of it. There are peaceful moments ahead where your spirit will finally rest without constant fear of everything collapsing again. And when those seasons arrive, stay humble. Do not forget the lessons pain taught you. Do not forget the people still silently struggling around you. Do not forget the nights where you needed comfort too. Let your healing make you compassionate, not prideful. Let your peace make you gentle, not distant. Let your testimony become hope for others carrying invisible battles. Because many people around you are quietly fighting wars nobody else sees. Your story may become the encouragement that keeps someone else from giving up. My child, you survived enough pain already. Stop speaking as though hopelessness owns your future. Stop expecting every chapter to repeat the same suffering forever. Stop agreeing with fear more than faith. This is not the end of your story. There is still healing ahead, still restoration ahead, still peace ahead. Still purpose ahead. And even now, while listening to these words, your future is quietly unfolding step by step in ways you cannot fully see yet. So lift your head again, breathe again, hope again, trust again, because I am still walking beside you through every uncertain moment ahead. And if these words touched your heart throughout this journey, type, "My story is not over," in the comments below. Let that declaration become a reminder to your spirit that your future still carries hope. And if this series brought peace, encouragement, and healing into your life, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may need these words today. And if you feel led to support this ministry, the link below is there for you. Your support helps these messages continue reaching weary hearts around the world, searching for strength, healing, and hope. Most importantly, never forget this truth, my child. Even in your hardest seasons, you were never alone.